So you want to know the ins and outs of managing your money. Well, lucky for you, you're just in time for another episode of Master Your Finances with certified financial planner professional Kurtis Baker. Kurt and his panel of experts are here for you and will cover topics from a legal and personal standpoint. They'll discuss tax efficiency, liability, owning, managing, and saving your money, and more. Master Your Finances is underwritten in part by Certified Wealth Management and Investment and Rider University. Rider offers continuing studies programs for adults who need flexibility. Want to add new skills to your resume? Take a continuing studies course at Rider University. Now, let's learn how we can better change our habits with Kurtis Baker.
Do you want to learn how to make a wise decision when undertaking a major renovation? Would you like to avoid future headaches by planning projects and saving money as a result? Vivian Hong and Joe Giamarese, the founder and principal designer of Global Home, are here to help you understand the service behind interior design. They will make you feel smarter for entrusting professionals to guide you to the peak, especially if it is a personal residential project.
Very
All right,
nice.
guys. Thanks
nice.
for coming
Thank
on.
you.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
You added quite a lot of flair to our last name.
That's right.
Is that not a good thing? You don't want to be flair? You don't like,
It's
you know,
okay.
you, don't
We-
like,
we
you
like
guys
a
are
little-
like flary people. You're from New York City. I mean, come on.
We like a little pizzazz.
You like
That's
a little
okay.
pizzazz in New
Yeah.
York City? I mean, you know,
love it.
they
I
light
love
up the
it.
Empire State Building. You got your favorite colors. They'll go do it for you tonight, man, in your honor. How's that?
I love it.
In your honor. Pick a
it.
color. I'll call them up right now, and it'll be tonight. Is that
Perfect.
good? All right. So
I can't decide on the color.
appreciate. Okay. Well, you guys work that out. We'll get
Yes.
We'll get her done. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. I mean, you guys have a very fascinating story. I met you guys a little bit ago, and I thought it was very fascinating. So if you don't mind going back a few steps, like how you guys got into this thing, if you don't mind, and then
Well-
how you ended up in the Princeton area.
Oh.
Do you want to take us back
wow.
a little bit?
Okay.
Let's go way back.
Well, you
Yeah,
know,
I think
sort of
it's a cool story.
it's a little romantic and little adventurous, I think. We were young professionals in the
Once.
That's romantic that you were young. I love
we
that.
were, yeah. We were romantic in back in the day when we were younger, and
Uh-huh.
we had just come back from a vacation together, and we're like, oh, where do you want to go next? And we were out at dinner, and we're like, okay, let's play a game. You write down a list of places you want to go, and I'll write down a list, and let's see if anything matches.
This sounds like fun.
So we each got our cocktail napkins and we
Okay.
were sitting there at the bar writing down our list. And I had about 20
And I had about 20
places
as well.
and she had about
Wow.
20 places. And there was only about maybe 5 that overlapped.
That's actually not bad. That's
It's not bad, right?
It's
Okay.
not bad.
A total of, what is that, 40,
That'd be 40 out of
40.
5.
35 places, right? If we got
35, yeah.
20
Uh-huh.
And then
And then we said, oh gosh, we'll never be able to go to all these places if we only have 2 weeks off a year.
Right.
And I said, I don't really like my job.
and I said,
What, from writing out these names on a napkin? You didn't, okay.
Yeah. And I said, I would love to be able to see all these places, for longer than just two weeks for each place. And the only way we could do that is, of course, if we didn't have to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
so that was the
This is true work-life balance.
Yes.
Yeah, and you asked for the long story.
Yeah, this
right?
is what
So
we're
this
giving
is
it to
the
you.
long
Let's
story.
go for it, man.
Yeah, do
All
we
right.
have
So we're in a bar. We're on a cocktail napkins. We got 40 names and 5 of them overlap. You're like,
Right.
okay, we can't do all this.
Yes.
You mean the 5 or the total of the 40?
Of the total, the
35. The 35 that were
yeah.
total. The 35 total.
Yes.
Right.
So we plotted and we said, let's save for a year.
Uh-huh.
You hate your job, I hate my job. Let's save up money and
Okay.
let's travel around the world.
Well, that's good.
So
That's a
we
good
did.
plan. Okay.
So we did.
And we did it.
And we sold all of our possessions, which there weren't that many.
No.
But,
Okay.
I mean, not
and
that many.
so we raised some more money, and we just
This
plotted.
is a good, as a planner, this is a good 1-year plan. So at the end of the 1 year,
We didn't have it. We didn't have
We
it.
didn't plan. Well, we
was
were
it.
actually gone for a year and a half. And then
Okay.
we came back and we thought that we would, in order to replenish our empty bank accounts, that we would do henna tattoos on the beach.
you do
in Jersey, in New Jersey.
What kind of tattoos?
Henna tattoos.
Henna tattoos?
Henna.
Like
It's like
henna?
you
Henna.
paint.
Oh, henna.
Yeah, henna.
Yeah.
Oh, my niece is Hannah, so I was like, wait a minute. I
Yeah.
didn't know she did tattoos with you guys. I wasn't aware of that. Henna, I got it.
We could do that. We maybe
Okay.
we could have done that. That would have made us just as much money.
Right.
But
it-
because when we were traveling, like on the beaches of Southeast Asia, there were people that did like little henna tattoos.
Oh,
and
so you saw other people doing this. Oh.
when I tell you, like, we probably could have made like $5. That was probably
Okay.
Yes.
And this sort of sustained you for how long?
No, we didn't
No,
do
we
it
didn't
because
do
it was
it.
a dumb idea.
Oh.
Yeah. but besides learning about that henna tattoos are done on the beach, we also saw around the world where things were made. Like
Okay.
we traveled around and we saw, how baskets were woven in different villages in
Right.
Southeast Asia, or where to get teak furniture. I mean, we essentially saw
Okay.
products around the world, and it really sort of informed our, how the world worked in terms of.
But most
design.
importantly, our passports were stolen when we were in Bali. And
Okay.
yeah,
That's
we
not a
were-
good thing.
So we were stuck there for 6 weeks. It could be worse,
could have
right?
been worse places.
Bali. That's
Yeah.
true. If you're going to get stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
one of Vivian's friends from college, her parents lived in Bali 6 months of the year, and her father collected Balinese antiques, and he had 2 giant warehouses full of Balinese antiques.
2 warehouses
Yes,
full?
giant, like airplane hangar size.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we stayed. They also had like a little hotel, and we stayed at their place. And then he would bring us to the warehouses and show us around. And he's very proud of his collection.
Can
And he
imagine.
would also show us around like different handicraft places that would make baskets and all sorts of things that are produced in Bali.
Okay.
So that was just kind of like we kind of had like our intensive course in that. And then, our trip was coming to an end, and I got a job offer, and we came back and I worked at that job.
Okay.
And it was completely unrelated to, it was at Vogue magazine. I was the marketing director. So it was a nice salary. We made a lot more than
Right.
we would have made doing the henna tattoos.
A lot more.
Oh, they pay better at Vogue than on the beach?
Yes.
On the beach.
Just a little bit.
In New Jersey, where the season's only two and a half months long.
All right.
So,
yeah, right. Okay. All right.
And then September 11th happened. We said, okay, well, if we want to live a fulfilled life, we kind of want to pursue our dreams, maybe we need to rethink what we want to do. And we decided that Joe was working on Vogue and he didn't like it. There's a theme, like we didn't like
Right.
working for other people, essentially.
I'm seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely starting to see that pattern.
So so because of September 11th, we wanted a getaway place, so we bought a place up in the Catskills.
Okay.
And we were still working in the city, but then when I had the eureka moment that we were going to quit, import the Balinese antiques that we saw.
You just went straight to let's import this stuff.
Yes.
There's a
And
warehouse. There's
Yes.
a
the
airplane
appeal of
hangar
teak,
full of
don't
stuff.
you?
What's that?
You know the appeal of teak.
Yeah, you heard my story,
I
right?
heard your story.
I heard my teak story.
So yeah, and then we just rented a storefront up in where our country house was.
Okay.
Kind of moved out of the city, went to Bali, imported a container full of stuff, and just like sold it out of the storefront.
Mind you, we knew nothing about importing.
Retail,
Retail,
nothing.
nothing.
I completely understand your story.
Yeah, I know. So and
get
then,
it.
And then we having the store, we set it up in a certain way that it
Okay.
was beautiful, and we had repeat customers, and eventually people
This
started.
is from your marketing background. You kind of had an eye, right?
I
It sounds
guess,
like
yeah.
you guys kind of
Vivian-
know.
yeah.
I was
like-
a creative director.
Vivian-
Oh, there you go.
creative
So,
director.
so,
In
so you
advertising
have
for a
some
long
talent
time.
here. This isn't totally without talent, obviously.
Yes. I mean,
No,
we've
yeah.
always had love for design and home furnishings.
I
And
just want to throw that piece in there for
Yes.
you.
Yes,
Because
thank you.
you're like-
It wasn't out of the blue.
Yes.
This was a thing that's ever since we were together.
Yeah.
It was a thing that we had a shared passion for.
Right,
Right.
right.
So, and our customers started asking us if we could do the store in their house, right? If we can make their house look like the
Ah.
store.
Yes.
And we said yes without hesitation.
Yeah, sure.
And
It sounds like
then-
money to me, right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
then that's how it started, and we were successful at it. And there was a big second home community up where we lived.
Right.
And then so once we kind of like did places up there, then they would have us to their apartments in the city, and we would do their homes in the city or in northern New Jersey or in Long Island. And the business just grew from there. And then we eventually opened up,
multiple stores.
Yeah, we had multiple stores. We had a showroom in New York, in the Flatiron district. We had this thriving interior design business, and that's what continues today. That's
right.
Did we wrap it up?
That's it. We're done. No.
Did we tie it back? Does it make sense even?
I mean, it sounds like
it makes perfect sense. So, all right. So you started off. You're importing these things from Bali. Any other places, or just
Thailand?
Southeast Asia, yeah.
So you expanded the areas you bring in from.
Yeah.
Okay. So we definitely want to get into more of this, but I don't know if we have a break coming up shortly. But I want to make sure we have plenty of time for that. So. Maybe we'll take a quick break now. We'll make the next segment a little bit longer. I want to get into how you started that process and the things that you've learned along the way about how to do it. Because I remember you start off, you don't know anything, but then you kind of learn along the way. What are some of the things that you learned along the way? We're going to take a quick break here. Listen to Master Your Finances. We'll be right back.
This is Master Your Finances with Kurt Baker, Certified Financial Planner Professional. Learn about tax efficiency, liability, owning, managing, and saving your money, and more from Kurt and his experienced panel of guests. Master Your Finances is underwritten in part by Certified Wealth Management and Investment and Rider University. Rider University offers flexible education for adult learners. For more information, it's rider.edu/nextstep.
Welcome back. You're listening to Master Your Finances, and we have Vivian and Joe here, and we're going to talk a little bit about how you started this off. Now, I completely understand because you guys heard my teak story, right? Imported some stuff. I won't get into that now, but those you want to know, I'll tell you offline. But yeah, so importing things. So you started the process essentially because you wanted a better quality of life. You wanted to work on your own. You found a demand. You opened up the store. It worked out well. But then this is interesting because then people started asking you to do additional services.
Right.
And you were really doing both of these because it sounded like you opened up multiple locations. I don't remember how many you said, but it was quite a few, it sounds like.
Yeah, we had three in total in the end, as well as our e-commerce site.
Yeah, so walk us kind of through, okay, you just a little more detail. Like you come in, you're selling the stuff, you get your container full, you're selling it, people start asking for the services. Right. Then what made you decide to expand the stores, and kind of walk us through all that whole progression and what you learned while you started importing, because you expanded that whole process.
Right. Well, I mean, importing at first sounded really great because you're like, oh, great, we get to travel and have all that fun time and see more places, because that feeling of freedom was something that we always wanted, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you open up the containers, you're like, whoa, now I have to unpack that, and then I have to
This is actual work?
It's actual physical labor, and we would put it into the stores, and it would happen twice a year. And then we also wanted to expand the breadth of stuff that we were selling, so it wasn't just Southeast Asian, antiques and handicraft. We wanted to mix it up with more modern, contemporary pieces, which is sort of our aesthetic. So as a result, we did more domestic manufacturers. And through that, I think we realized that the importing business was a bigger bear than we could really do well,
with the scale that we had.
Right. And also we wanted it to feel really intimate and customized and curated. So, if you import things, you need a lot of volume, right? So you need to bring in lots of different multiples of things, right? And we weren't at that scale yet. So so we, paired it with more of the local manufacturers, and as a result, since we opened up in 2004, we've have all these different relationships with a lot of domestic manufacturers, and we let them import the things.
Yeah, there are people that do this.
Yeah, and do it well and have a better, structure. And we're the ones that are able to then cherry pick and curate and make the vision that we want to make.
Yes, let me just make sure I understand. I think I understood about what it's. So before you're just doing direct import, and so there's an economy of scale, it sounds like, right? So you can't fill up the big container or whatever. I get that. So it has to be an economy of scale. So explain to me a little bit more about the relationship locally. So you say local U.S. manufacturers. Now, I don't think the United States is a place where we manufacture a lot of furniture. Now, am I wrong about that? Do we do?
North Carolina has a lot,
Okay,
but they
good.
also do a lot of manufacturing abroad. So
Okay.
what they do are they're American businesses,
So
right?
they're based in the U.S., but they may actually manufacture overseas.
Right.
And then they bring it in. So what you're doing is really buying from them, and they're worried about bringing in the 100 or 200 containers, and they're going to sell you a
Exactly.
couple pieces out of that.
Right.
Exactly.
So they're much higher efficiency as far as what they're trying to do.
Yes, and they can take all the liability. You know,
Okay.
containers fall off ships. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I saw that video. That happens, it does happen occasionally. People don't realize that. It does
It
happen
does
occasionally.
happen.
I'm aware of that. Yeah. So,
Plus, then there's like a whole world of product for us to choose from and make our look from. Like we're not limited with just the places that we go.
Right.
That was fun, and then we also had children.
Okay.
And so we couldn't like be gone for 6 weeks.
yeah, life definitely changes when you have children.
They
Yes.
definitely did. And so that, it sort of all happened at the same time. Like we were learning more about the other people importing product.
Right.
We were having babies.
Okay.
And it sort of was like this thing where everything comes together and we're like, okay, well, we're going to do that now. And we also kind of like supplement, you asked about whether or not America's manufacturing stuff. Yeah, North Carolina is still a center for that.
Right.
But there's kind of like these little shops, these little craft artisanal shops that are doing stuff out of like Brooklyn, out of Austin,
Okay.
Texas.
That's good to hear.
Out of a lot of like kind of little centers around the country,
Yep.
and it's cool to mix those in with
Right.
what we're finding from other manufacturers as well.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that. So you're buying things, some of it from manufacturers in the U.S. that might be bringing it in overseas. So it's a blend. And then you have some that are actually local manufacturers. So you have quite a variety of products, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Right.
And now we got 3 stores, one in New York City, which obviously is kind of like the place, if you want to sell something around the world, you need to go to New York City, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Flatiron District and all that stuff. So what you're doing now is a little bit different, right? Because people started asking you for the services. So kind of explain to us, like, you really had 2 businesses going on, right? One is you're bringing in stuff and you have a storefront, you're selling things, I'm assuming.
Yep.
And the other is people are asking you to do their house, make their house look like your showroom.
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Right.
kind of tell us the difference between the two and how that process went.
Well, I mean, the services end, I think it's really interesting because you really have to understand the client and really understand their vision of how they want to live. And Joe and I always say, like, we should have became therapists as well because, it's really understanding the words that they're saying to us, like how we want to live and this is what we want, and then interpreting it into a 3D space that is functional, solves problems, and is also beautiful. And as well as provide the service that it comes in on time and in budget. So it's a lot of things that we juggle. And it's not dissimilar to having a retail store. It's just that the retail store, we're the clients, right?
Everything in there was from what we envisioned as
Right.
like our
Okay.
environment, if you will.
So you were like the middleman, kind of,
Yeah.
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 in a way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
You're like, wait a minute, that's your view, but okay, that's interesting.
exactly. Yeah. So I feel like it helped to guide clients as to what we were capable of.
Right.
But now without the physical retail spaces, we're still able to do that. But we also are able to really get into our clients' brains and understand what they need and what they're looking for, and make the space theirs.
So you basically decided one day we don't want to deal with these 3 stores.
Yes.
The business, I'm assuming the consulting business probably was exceeding the revenue,
Yes.
net revenue. Let's talk about of the
Net revenue for
Yes.
sure.
of this business. So you started like watching what you were doing, what you actually seemed to be enjoying.
Yes.
You're like, well, wait a minute, we're spending time here, and yeah, it makes us money, but really, we'd rather be doing this over here, which is the consultation part, and actually, we're making more money at it. It sounds like.
Yes.
Well, I
So
mean,
sometimes business owners have to really pay attention to what's going on in their business, and I just want to make sure I point that out. That
Yes.
sometimes you get kind of bogged down, like this is how we've always done things. This is what makes.
Yes.
This is making us money. But are we enjoying it? And is there maybe another way to do it that we like that actually makes us more revenue
Yes.
overall? And I sense that was the transition you went through.
exactly.
That's exactly. And it happened prior to the pandemic, right?
Right.
Oh, so you weren't a COVID like business.
No, we weren't. We didn't have like a door that we couldn't
out of
open.
necessity.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think we learned the lesson the hard way when we had the New York City store, because we thought, okay, this is we're going to be big, we're going to have our
Right.
New York City store, and it's going to be fantastic, and our brand is going to be everywhere. I mean, the thing is that you have smartphones and
Right.
you have the internet, and there was a time, and to quote Carrie Bradshaw from Sex and the City, shopping was cardio. Everyone used to just go shopping and
Right.
do that and go into different stores. People are not doing that anymore. They're just like on their phone, shopping online, and having a retail space. That whole space was filled with money that could be converted, right?
Right.
We had to outlay the money.
Right.
So it just wasn't making financial sense.
And because we were selling products that other people were bringing into the country, right? They were also available elsewhere,
Right.
AKA the
So,
internet, right?
I went to Bali myself. I could probably find that same
Yes.
warehouse in the hangar.
You could. So that was more,
Yeah.
that was more unique, right?
Right.
But like as we started bringing in more manufacturers, they were also sometimes available online. So people would use our retail spaces as showrooms. They call it showrooming. No.
I remember
Yes,
Best
so-
Buy was got worried about. They had to change their whole business model, right? They would do price matching right on
Yes.
site because they found that people were just looking at the TV and then they would
Yes.
go online
Yes.
and buy it there, and they're like,
Yes.
"Wait a minute, they're buying it in the store on their phone.
Yeah.
We better stop that."
So
Right.
we invested all the money to bring the
Yeah,
product in
yeah.
to showcase it in the way that we believe it should be showcased. But it didn't matter because people were like,
Right.
"Oh, it's $4 cheaper on Amazon," or on another website.
Right,
And
right.
So that was the ultimate,
Okay.
Yeah.
reason.
But they still need to know how to put it in action, which is where you are.
So
right?
that's where we are.
You
yeah.
how to put the puzzle together so it looks nice.
Yes.
Yes.
So you can buy all the pieces,
Yes.
but you want it to do what you want it to do, and you want it to look the way you want it to look. And this is where you guys get involved, right?
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's the years of experience of knowing where to find things, as well as how to interpret the words that people are saying to us. I like modern. I like transitional. I like color. What does that mean
Okay.
into a true space? And then also making sure that it's executed in the way that we design it. I mean, you can put together a lot of pretty pictures on Pinterest and say, I want to do this. But to actually have the time and the experience to do it, this is what we do.
Right.
We have a process for that, which
Yeah.
maybe we can get into.
Yeah, I
later.
definitely
Yeah.
want to talk about that because I understand the psychology of it, and I know because I've gone to some of these places where I've always been kind of amazed, and I'm not a designer, but I mean, you go in, you can tell when it's been kind of professionally done by somebody who actually knows what they're doing, and then when somebody just kind of put stuff together, right? So,
Right.
and I want to maybe we can walk through a little bit of that so people understand what actually goes into making all these things that don't seem to make sense together, but somehow they do when you're all done.
Right, exactly.
So I think that's pretty cool. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Master Your Finances. We will be right back.
This is Master Your Finances with Kurt Baker, certified financial planner professional. Learn about tax efficiency, liability, owning, managing, and saving your money, and more from Kurt and his experienced panel of guests. Master Your Finances is underwritten in part by Certified Wealth Management and Investment and Rider University. Rider University offers flexible education for adult learners. For more information, it's rider.edu/nextstep.
Welcome back. You're listening to Master Your Finances. We're here with Vivian and Joe, and we're talking about design. So you basically went through a business model change from something that worked but wasn't quite as profitable, something that worked better and was actually more enjoyable.
Yes.
So now you went to your passion, which we talk about all the time, is do what you love, and you're going to do probably a better job at it because you're going
Yes.
to want to do it. You're going to get up in the morning, this is exciting, this is great. So just to start off, maybe tell us a little bit about when you go to a space that's been professionally done by somebody that actually knows how to design something. How come it seems like it all seems to work, but I don't really understand why necessarily because I'm not a designer. Because I'm like, how come that table goes with that chair, goes with that lamp, goes with this? I mean, the photos and the lighting, and it all seems to work somehow.
Right.
But I know somebody had to figure all that out. So I'm just curious, why do I notice this when I walk in? Why do you think I notice it?
Well, I mean, good design is harmonious, right?
Okay.
And you probably notice bad design quicker than you do good
Maybe
design.
that's the thing. I'm
think
noticing bad
that's
design.
Right. I mean, I think that what you're saying is, why do these all fit together? Why do these pieces of the puzzle work? Is a designer actually puts some serious thought into all those pieces, and why do they all work together? And if you take one piece out, it just messes up the whole,
Okay.
harmony of it. And I think that that's the magic of design. I mean, being an interior designer, and it is like 20% of it is the design, and 80% is the thought process and the execution to make it happen.
Right.
And I think that that's why a lot of people don't understand what we do, because they
Right.
watch TV and they think, oh, this is like just gonna happen, and it's so
Right.
quick, and this is how it's supposed to look. And in actuality, I think that it can be much more customized and really like fine design. There's a lot of thought that goes into each piece.
Okay.
I also think there's, as with any occupation, there's a certain balance of like art versus science.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly interior design is an art, but there's certain science to it. There's like how large should the lighting fixture be, and what's the relationship of the carpet to the size of the room,
Right.
and like how much of one color do you put into a room? There's certain rules, but the art is like knowing when to break the rules and how to kind of like make these little tweaks that
Right.
make it harmonious, like Vivian was saying,
And a
where
lot
it
of
doesn't look sterile.
this comes with experience. It sounds like the more you do this, the more you kind of see. So I'm assuming most of the time you guys are probably pretty successful. So every once in a while you go and you say, well, maybe we should tweak this a little bit now that we see how this lays out. Or how do you kind of walk through that process when we're going? When I have a room, I'm doing something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you always hit it 100% every time. Like, damn, we nailed this sucker every time.
We have
Pretty much.
We kind of like do a lot of setup.
Okay. Okay.
So that we're more ensuring a successful outcome.
Okay.
Yes.
So, for instance, from the beginning, when we sit down with our clients, it's like our first consultation, and we do this
Okay.
something that we call the design DNA. Which
Okay.
is actually, we have that
Trademarked.
We have that trademark. now.
Yes.
All right.
And
All right. It is true.
but it's very old school,
Right.
in the sense that we have about 1,000 tear sheets from magazines, from interior design magazines.
Okay.
Right? And have all different interior design styles, and we sit down with our clients, and we put the stack in front of them, and they viscerally kind of go through and say, I like this, I don't know why. It's never like, I like that sofa, or I like that. It's
Okay.
like, how does it make you feel? And if it's a good feeling, like it's like swipe right, swipe
Oh, there you
left
go.
kind of thing. And so say we wind up with like 50 pulls out of the 1,000.
Right.
And it's interesting because every client is always, it's always
surprised.
It's very different, and they're
Yeah.
surprised by like their collection of stuff. But we like take it back after that consultation. We take it back to our lab and like kind of look at it and look for the things that are similar between the pulls, little like surprises, color stories, etc. And we give them back a report.
Right.
And that's
Oh,
kind of like the
interesting.
first step of our like, hey, this is who you are.
Yes.
And this is how we want to approach your project,
Right. And
because of that.
it's really helpful with married couples as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because, when you can have the pulls where they both like and they're both different, you can visually show them, what they're interested in. And then through our analysis, they can really understand where we think the design of their home should be. So there's never any fighting. I mean, like,
That's okay. Yeah, you just jumped to my. How do you do that? Because I know people have very different tastes. Especially men and women. The married couple. I mean, if you go to their apartments prior to marriage, they're gonna be totally different locations,
Yes.
totally different places, and they get married. Like, how are we gonna put this together? I hate your stuff. I hate your stuff.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna throw it all away. We're just gonna live on the carpet. That's it.
right. Well, that's why
so-
we do this design DNA, because the common poles that they both like,
Okay.
they can both see where their home will end up being. So that becomes the template for them, right? So, if there's any fighting, we'd be like, remember, you said you like this, and this is the analysis. And so we have a plan
There
set
you
in
go.
place. Otherwise, there's nothing worse than like, you're midway designing and you're like, oh, people nitpicking, because there's a process, why
Okay.
we're doing the envelope and then putting in the details, because we're basing it off of the design DNA that we came up with from the first consultation.
And sometimes, there's in a couple, for instance, there's some things that one person can't part with.
Okay.
And,
So you're bringing in existing items as well.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Like
Okay.
we always try to use as much of the existing stuff. I mean, sometimes you just can't. And
Right.
The design DNA like kind of helps us say like, guys, there's no way this piece can like go into your house and still have it be a beautiful
Right.
home.
Right.
Okay.
But if someone's like, I need that piece, then that's why there's like men's dens, and that's why there's like ladies' offices.
Right.
It's like sometimes they have to hold on to the pieces that they really love that the other person can't stand.
That's why you build the shed out back. Is that it?
Well, that too.
Yes.
That
It
too.
can happen.
That's like last resort.
Yeah.
You can have it, but you're going to have your own spot in the backyard in the corner.
Right. And then from the design DNA, just to expand on the consultation, then we're able to put together a proposal. So
Okay.
that we're really able to see what's their taste luxury level, so that we're able
We have
to...
a luxury level?
Yes, like
Kind of,
where
yeah.
they are, like
Okay.
in terms of what do they want to spend their money on. So, sometimes people have like caviar taste, but they have a
IKEA budget?
IKEA budget, right? So you have to really be able to talk to them about
Right.
monies up front.
Okay.
Yet budgets have to be set up front before we start anything, because it's not fair for us to start putting together a beautiful design and it's like, oh, we have not that much money to spend.
Right.
If before we even sign a contract, we already know where the budgets lie and how the money is going to fall.
Right.
Okay.
Like if we discover through that design DNA that like they love everything gold leaf, then they cannot have everything gold leaf if
You mean they don't sell that at IKEA?
No.
if their budget is not
Darn.
gold leaf budget, right? So it's really helpful.
But I'll put it
in the
together
whole process.
myself.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I have an Allen wrench. Hey, there's nothing wrong with IKEA, but
Yeah.
No, it is. It's
Definitely
great.
not.
No, I'm not kidding. No, it is good stuff. I
But,
agree. I agree.
all IKEA maybe, but
Right.
we definitely occasionally will source something from IKEA.
Well, I mean, we can do high and low, but at least everyone's on the same page in terms of
Right.
what the budget level is, what we're spending our money on, where would be splurge pieces, where would not be. So it's really transparent. Not only is like we have already in the consultation an idea of like what the design will start being, but we already know transparency wise like where the money's going.
So typically, where did somebody come? So I'm envisioning like I've got this furniture in my house. Would you come into an existing house, or am I moving? I mean, when does somebody usually engage you? Like, okay, because it sounds like you're dealing with a number of pieces that exist, and you're coming in and doing a redesign. Are they selling the house? Are you trying to stage the house? That's a little different. Probably
that's
not.
different, yeah.
Probably not, because that's like bring my stuff in and make it look good and make it look empty so I can get rid of it,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So kind of walk me through like, I have a house, and you go, okay, what are you going to do next, right? So you come in, you say, man, what a freaking disaster this is. So we got to get rid of all this stuff, right? So I'm just trying to understand, like, you come in and literally just, what are your most common scenarios, I guess is what I'm asking you. Like, when do
interesting.
people approach
Okay.
you? What are some of the, we have like money in motion, like in my business. Like, well, so usually something's occurring, right? You had a baby, you had a marriage. I mean,
Right.
some reason, that's when people usually think about, wealth management and advising and things like that. When do people usually think about, oh, maybe I need to do something concerning what you do? I'm just curious what kind of triggers usually happen for people.
I feel like there's two scenarios, right? Either they're moving from an existing home to a new build and it's completely empty and they want to
Okay.
just like start anew, or they've been in the home for 10 years, 8 to 10 years or something, and they
Okay.
just never had the time to make the house.
The kid just moved out.
The kid just moved out.
Something like that.
Something
We're
like
going to
that.
redo their bedroom. They're gone.
Right.
Get rid of the furniture. We're going
Yeah, or there's like some big life change or something.
Okay.
They're like a new divorcee, wants
Okay.
to redo their new place. So that's usually when people come in, and I think we're able to adjust. The consultation works for any of those scenarios.
Okay.
The ones where the people have lived there for a while, they usually have much more specific ideas of what they want because they've lived in the space and they know, oh, the living room, this is where we want to do X, Y, and Z, and I would love, if the kitchen was open a little bit more and all those things. They have clearer ideas.
Right,
And
right.
then we come in and say, okay, that sounds good, but maybe not, it might not work in this space, or maybe we come up with alternative ideas. But usually when someone's moving into new space, it's just a blank slate. We could do
Right.
whatever we want.
Often it's a renovation as well. So like
Okay.
if you've been living in the same house for 20 years and you're like, I hate the kitchen, I hate the bathroom, time for an addition, like we're often called in
Right.
at that point for space planning and consultation as far as like what to do with the new space.
Project management as
Yep.
well. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, we definitely get into more of that. I mean, we're going to take another quick break. You're listening to Master Your Finances. We will be right back.
This is Master Your Finances with Kurt Baker, certified financial planner professional. Learn about tax efficiency, liability, owning, managing, and saving your money, and more from Kurt and his experienced panel of guests. Master Your Finances is underwritten in part by Certified Wealth Management and Investment and Rider University. Rider University offers flexible education for adult learners. For more information, it's rider.edu/nextstep.
Welcome back. You're listening to Master Your Finances. I'm here with Vivian and Joe, and we're talking about design DNA, right? Their proprietary process to really kind of walk through like what's existing, whether there is anything existing, and then learning like about you individually, right? Like how does all this make you feel? Because obviously once you're done, you want it to make you feel good, and so that's interesting to me. So a lot of it starts there, and then that art and that science goes together, which I can completely identify with. So that's cool. So we have different points where people typically come, right? They either bought a new house, maybe they're adding a room or redoing the kitchen, they're redoing the house in some way. Maybe the kids moved out and they want to repurpose part of the house, something like that. A divorce situation you mentioned, they're moving in a new place, things like that. So now that we've kind of got this project going, so I'm like, okay, I need to do something. So you talked about first set up a budget, which I agree 100%. Anytime you do something like that, okay, here's what we're going to do, set up my budget. Then what happens from there after they kind of get through this process and set the budget up and move ahead?
Well, once the contract is signed, that's when the fun part starts.
Ah.
Yeah, so we kind of do a few rounds of design meetings. So we need about, 3 to 4 weeks to kind of put together the initial vision based on the design DNA. And that means we come in with samples and, mood boards and
Materials.
materials.
Would you call it a mood board?
A mood board, yeah.
Ooh, all right. I don't know what that is. Sounds like I knew they had mood rings.
Yeah.
It's
Different?
almost like a mood ring, except
Really?
Definitely not.
Okay, definitely. I don't want my mood board to be black. All right, that's usually bad.
Okay. Unless that's what you want. But,
Okay.
So it's typically a few trays of materials where we're showing you kind of like the textures of fabrics and colors of fabrics that we intend to put into your place.
Okay.
The tile, any other flooring, drapery fabrics, paint colors,
Right.
wallpapers, wood tones, like anything that we're kind of adding to the space. We have a couple of different options for like, hey guys, this is like the natural, your earthy vibe, and then
Right.
this is the more glamorous vibe. And typically what people do is say, I like that part of this and I like that part of this. And then we wind up with like kind of an amalgam and their design direction from there.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And then the next step would be the design to actually like take that information and then pick the actual pieces, do the furniture layouts. What is the cabinet style? What is the appliances that are going into the kitchen? What is the rug?
Yes.
So
yeah.
like then it gets more and more specific until we have an actual plan,
Right.
and then we get into like kind of the execution.
The
part of it.
execution, yeah. So then once everything's approved and signed off on, that's when we start purchasing. And, it's the process is we buy everything. We have everything shipped to our warehouse and it's stored and quality controlled to make sure everything arrives in perfect condition. If there's a renovation, we're already in talks with contractors and have them bid out the design so that they we'll kind of know how much that bit will cost. And then we set a timeline. If it's a renovation, then when is the contractor have to come in? When are the materials due on site? All those things. So it becomes much more complicated, and that's where a good project manager and our team helps the client kind of like go through that kind of can be headache-inducing process. There's a lot of detail work and a lot of things that need to be answered that most clients, when they want to do a renovation on their own, don't even know how to ask the right questions. So that's why the services of our expertise and our project management not only relieves them of all that headache, but also will probably save them money in the long term, because if they don't have these things answered prior to things being put in, there's always a change order for the contractor to come in and like put it in after the fact.
That's expensive.
Which is expensive, yes.
Sure, I'll move that window for you.
Yes.
Here's your bill.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
exactly. So these are all things like, explaining to the client, trying to be as transparent and as open about the process with them as possible. It allows them to trust us. It's never an inexpensive process. So we are very cognizant of that. It's like we're spending someone else's money. So we want to make sure we're making smart decisions. And that's why we don't buy anything unless they approve it. They know everything that's going on along the way. We check in with them, give them project updates. So it's pretty clear, what's going on.
So in a sense, I just want the relationship between, because you mentioned like appliances and like kitchens and renovations, and so because your project management, you have a contractor, subcontractor. So how does that whole relationship dynamic work? Because you got your part of it, their part of it, obviously the final picture that the owner is looking for.
Yes.
How do all these kind of pieces like fit together when somebody's in the middle of these projects?
We like to say that we act as an advocate for the client.
Okay.
So, we're interacting with the contractors and the subs, so that they're putting their best product forward, so that our clients get the outcome that they want.
Right. So when we work with contractors, I and Joe already have a design plan put together. Okay. So essentially we're working together with the contractors to say, okay, this is the vision.
Right.
You know how to actually install and execute.
Right.
This is how I would like it done. And then you work together, and it's a constant communication. I'm not a contractor. I don't know how to lay tile, nor am I an electrician, and I don't want, and I'm sure they don't want me to tell them what to do, but I know how I want it to look, and I know how I want it to operate. So it's just being very, open and communicate and what the end vision is.
Sounds a little bit like how an architect would work, right?
Yes.
So they design
absolutely.
the house, but you're going to go build it, but he's going to still check in and say, all right,
Yes.
this is looking the way I intended it to be looking when I'm done.
Right.
Yeah, because there's several details that
Right.
contractors ask or sometimes don't ask, right?
Right.
So, like for instance, on a countertop, like is it an eased edge? Is it like a rounded edge? And these are things that, like, if a contractor would even think to ask the client, they may not know the answer, right?
Right.
We either can just provide the answer, or at least like translate what that speak is to the client and and tell them what the different things are, so that they can then have an informed decision
Okay.
on how they want it.
Yeah. So say it's a new build and there's an architect, a contractor, and us.
Right.
That's ideal because the architect is basically building the structure and the spatial arrangement, and then we would come in and with the finishes, right? And so the architect doesn't want to tell the contractor what the paint colors are. They don't care.
No.
And the contractor is not going to choose. If they choose, everything will be white, contractor white, right? But the
true.
person who's actually paying for the three parties cares. And that's what we do. We're in communication and saying, okay, we know that the client wants these little touches in there. So we are the ones that kind of, we set those, we select those finishes.
So tell me some stories about somebody that came in, like I have this project due. It probably feels overwhelming coming up, and then like when they got, like, how did that go through? Like, what were their emotions during this whole process? Like, I came in, I hired you guys.
Right.
I'm envisioning, like you said, therapy, right? You come in like, I don't really want to do this.
Yeah.
But then you're like, when it's done.
Yes.
So can you kind of walk through like maybe some examples of like how people like what occurred like along the way and how they felt after it was all over?
Well, you can look at our website.
I can
look at the
on the radio.
No,
this
you
is
can't
amazing.
right
You
now.
guys are really talented. I
And
have
look
to tell
at the
you.
client testimonials and
You can look
okay.
at all our Google reviews.
Oh, all right, there you go. Okay, fair enough.
our flawless 5-star Google reviews.
Oh, you're flawless. Okay, I didn't know you were
I
flawless.
think we're all 5-star at this point.
Okay, that's awesome.
I think, the best testimony of our work is people come back and hire us
Right,
again.
right.
And then also refer us to all their friends and family. So that makes us feel great that we've nailed the
Yeah.
project, or we're able to understand what our
So what
clients want.
typical concerns they have? Maybe I'll just be more point. Like what concerns would people typically have when they start this process? Like, because I mean, to me,
Budget.
Oh, okay, budget. I'm just
Budget,
asking.
trust.
I'm always about
Trust. I feel like a lot
Okay.
of people, despite, we have our portfolio with examples of our, endless examples of our work, testimonials, etc. It's a lot of money.
Right.
We're expensive.
Right.
We're 100% worth it, but we're expensive.
Right.
And, I feel like people have issues with like, are they going to be able to pull off what I want?
right.
And I think the answer is like yes,
Yes.
always. Like there's a process. Some people are more trusting than others from the get.
Right. Okay.
But I think it's like once we're interacting and once they kind of like get the feeling that we're on their side.
yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes people have the impression that designers are like people that they see on TV that come in and say like,
Okay.
that sofa needs to be red and you need to throw all that out. And it's like, I think we get a bad rap, or rep. Is it rep or rap? But in the end, we're not that.
Yeah.
We're not those people,
Right.
I think designers are not those people. We're
Right.
client advocates.
Right, exactly. And also, when we meet with them initially, we're like, look, this is gonna if you hire us, we're gonna be like in your business. So
Right.
we have to like each other, and we're all going towards the same place. We want to make sure your place, when you are in your home, you feel happy,
Right.
and you feel like this is where I've always wanted to live. This is the same goal. So
Okay.
so I think that's the trust thing is important, but I think we're always in contact. We're always talking. We're always,
Right.
if they have any questions, they can always ask us. And I think, we've found that through our many clients, the process has worked.
Okay.
And
So what's your website real quick, and then give me some like final recommendations there. Go ahead. What is it?
www.globalhomeny, as in New York,
Okay.
.com, even though we're located in Princeton, New Jersey.
I was gonna
Yes.
I was gonna point that out, but I guess
We started in New York,
I know
so
the
it's-
Flatiron District. I heard about that part.
Yeah.
yes,
That's awesome. Any final thoughts before we sign off? You guys did a great job. Anything else?
Thank you.
good design is worth the money.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Awesome, man. All right. Well, you guys have been awesome. You're listening to Master Your Finances. Have a wonderful day.
That was this week's episode of Master Your Finances with Kurt Baker, Certified Financial Planner Professional. Tune in every Sunday at 9 a.m. to expand your knowledge in building and managing your wealth. Missed an episode? No worries. You can subscribe to a free weekly episode of Master Your Finances to listen to on your favorite podcasting platform. Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever. Master Your Finances is underwritten in part by Certified Wealth Management and Investment and Rider University. Rider offers continuing studies programs for adults who need flexibility. Want to add new skills to your resume? Take a continuing studies course at Rider University.